us and is.
I'll laugh for her.
There we go. Yeah, there we go. Chris is here, all right. Margarita is driving from afar.
Oh, my.
Yes, driving from afar. And Trisha is also driving from afar. So welcome, everyone.
Does that mean how long? We're not gonna have Luke here.
No, I'm just here to help her make sure everything starts out okay, and then I'll be around if things pop up, but for the most part.
All right,
it should be
so
most of the thing.
hopefully, okay, so we're not sharing screen today, probably.
We're gonna share one screen, but Margarita can share screen,
Oh,
right?
there?
Because Margarita's a host.
Right, so if she's shared screen from there, it should full screen here.
Perfect, okay. All right, so I am calling this meeting to order. It is 3:02. And can I have an approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Can I make,
Did you say Margarita's?
can I share an observation? It appears that public comment is not on the agenda.
It is 3. Go in there.
Oh,
It's always there.
Oh, okay, got it.
Thank God, yeah.
It's-
Uh-huh.
Yep.
Uh-huh. Okay, there you go. All right, so I'm still waiting for that approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, moved by Kathy and seconded by Cornelia the Reluctant. Okay, awesome. That moves us to, oh wait, 3, public comment. Do I have any public comments from online? No, okay, public comments from here. Kathy.
Okay, I am just making a public comment on behalf of the Faculty Election Committee. You probably, hopefully have seen the online forms that have come through. I'm gonna go ahead and hand these out to you. I realize there's a very short timeline. We have, had some challenges this year. And I will give you some more forms if you'd like to have more. But I'm certainly hoping that you will share these. I'm hoping you will write some of these. We need to have candidates for next year. It's sort of been a long time and we want to get back on track again. So please nominate. It needs to be a full-time faculty member, someone who has not received the award. The list of names are on the nomination form. And anyone can nominate students, faculty, staff, administrators. Okay, so I know sometimes in the past, is Maria not here today?
Maria's there.
Maria, you're online. Hi. So in the past, I think sometimes administrators have felt that they should not nominate, but I would really like you to share this with your deans. And please encourage everyone to nominate somebody. And again, it's a tight timeline, it's noon, Monday 24th. Please, maybe that's even better because it's short and you've got to do something quickly. So,
And I would say, if you send me a copy of this, I can put it under our new resources section.
okay,
So I hope you guys all noticed that, as you noticed that there's a new resources section at the very, very end of our agendas. Okay, so any other public comment? Cornelia.
Yeah, thank you so much. And I pass out a little one-page handout. Christina, Margarita, I sent this to you. If you want to share it with the online colleagues. So this is an FA update on a negotiation item that the FA feels is relevant to the Academic Senate. The following was proposed by the district in negotiations as of this afternoon. So I want to disclose that I have not had a chance to share this with the Faculty Association Board. I sent it to them, but I haven't had a chance to hear back from them. And it will be discussed in our upcoming negotiations meetings. The the next negotiation meeting with the district is tomorrow morning. So I already received a correction. This is not Article 15, but this it's a proposed Article 14.2 faculty certification process for online teaching. All faculty will complete the certification process prior to teaching an online or hybrid class and on a regular basis thereafter. This applies to current and new online teaching faculty. The Senate will create the process. As faculty certification and recertification fall into pedagogy, hence into the academic senate purview, and has recently been discussed by this academic senate. The association is sharing this proposal with the senators and is open for any feedback and or guidance from the Senate today or after you have consulted with your divisions. It appears to the FA that the academic senate first needs to develop a process for distance education work/instruction, and only thereafter any impacts on working conditions should be negotiated. Thank you.
And we can't talk about it today.
We can't talk about it today because information. Cornelia, how would you like that feedback? Email to you?
Email.
Okay.
email to-
Right, okay. So please email that. Please take this to your division. This is directly relevant to what we're doing today. Any other public comments?
Can I ask a point of clarification?
Yes.
Cornelia, if we had this as an agenda item in our next Senate meeting, is it gonna be too late for you to do anything through negotiations?
Well, I can promise you that the faculty association will not make decisions on such a sensitive and Senate relevant item without having proper feedback from the academic senate, so we will wait. As I shared last time, we are a little bit in a time crunch with negotiations because this item, Article 14, is part of a package that's also tied to COLA.
And can I request of the president that we had put this as an agenda item on our next?
Absolutely. Agenda, I already said that. Agenda is for 4/26.
Thank
Those
you.
will be agendized for 4/26.
Thank you.
Okay, any other public comment? Okay, thank you. That brings us to approval of the minutes. Thank you, Margarita, for those minutes. Any corrections? Hearing none, those minutes are approved as accepted. All right, info items, nothing changed on the first one, that's spring plenary next week. Good times in Anaheim. I need the secret pictures, right?
Is anyone else going in person?
What else going in person? No.
No.
Oh.
That's sad.
You know a lot of people there though.
You do. Next is the guided pathways update, which Margaret asked to have on there. She has offered to come to our summer retreat, if you would like, so we can talk about that when we get closer to, this is our third, from the end meeting. And that brings us to the academic affairs reconfiguration update. And Maria, as our VPAA, will give us that update.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Wonderful. I guess yes is the answer. May I have sharing screen permissions, please? Thank you.
It should be ready to go.
Thank you so much. Okay, hopefully everyone can see the PowerPoint here and slideshow. There we go. Thank you for inviting me to give you an update regarding the Academic Affairs Reconfiguration Project. It was suggested actually by a senator that I bring this share this project and an update status with all of you as well. So I gladly accepted the invitation. I thought that was a really, really good idea. And I'm actually surprised that I didn't think about doing that sooner. So here we are. And so if it's okay, I can go ahead and just give a brief intro and then maybe open it up for questions or feedback or comments. So as I hope all of you might know, at the beginning of my tenure here at Santa Barbara, I was approached by several colleagues from various groups, classified, faculty, and administration, who were expressing concerns about a potential imbalance in workload across the divisions. And because I heard it from more than one person across constituencies, I thought maybe I should look into that, and promised that I would and try to identify if there was a workload imbalance to see how we could correct that, how we could address that. And I'm also sharing with folks during these presentations that I never thought and it wasn't part of my goals to come to Santa Barbara and reconfigure academic affairs during my first year. That was not in the plans at all. And so, however, here we are. I'm doing this in my first year. And so it's funny how life will just, surprise you sometimes. So one of the primary goals for the reconfiguration project was to increase the effectiveness of our divisions, of the impact that our divisions are making via our programs, and also increase the efficiency by which we are meeting the needs of students. It was also to see if there was an imbalance in workload and try to correct that. Also, part of the goal was to, in the event that the mechanism by which we were going to identify this potential imbalance and correct it, if it worked, that we could have something in place whereby we could modify and continue to use on an ongoing basis to make sure that we didn't go off balance again in the near or far future. And finally, it was to do so in a way that would hold us accountable to being fiscally responsible, meaning no additional costs to the district, no additional positions being proposed as a result of the reconfiguration project. So those were and are our primary goals. So how we decided to do this is by focusing on 4 main categories by which we could quantify the divisions, the dean's workload. And so we focused on these 4 categories and these 11 variables. We looked at staff management, meaning full-time faculty, part-time faculty, and classified and managers. We looked at the schedule management, number of sections that each division oversees or is charged with. We looked at budget management in terms of its operational. We looked at facilities. We looked at grants, meaning number of grants, and we also looked at grants budget size. And then we also looked at other administrative duties that weren't already going to be captured by these other categories and variables. So we looked at areas that have connections to accrediting bodies and other boards, advisory boards that they need to work with to make sure those folks also got credit for that workload. We also looked at special operational assignments, such as a new program that we are piloting or those kinds of things. And then finally, we looked at committee assignments that the deans are appointed to as academic affairs reps. So all of that gave us a good sense of where we are across divisions in terms of workload. We also thought we would come up with a timeline that would allow us to gather input from the various groups, right, throughout the year. And I guess you guys would fall somewhere around here in terms of coming to you and consider what you might have to suggest or ask or inquire about. We broke it into 2 phases. We knew that scheduling office probably needed to be moved to academic affairs and off of one of the deans' workload who had agreed to take that temporarily. So that move happened in at the beginning of spring, with the rest of the potential moves being expected to go into full fruition effective this new upcoming fiscal year. What we wanted to consider is in the decisions about, how to reconfigure programs and areas is to, one, what makes sense structurally, what changes that result in minor impacts, and also, again, no fiscal impact. And we wanted to see where we could maximize efficiency and effectiveness at the same time. And also want to make sure that we took into account everyone's voice, including, of course, the Senate. And in my mind, I was doing so by, a conversation that I had with the Senate leadership along with the union leadership. But I do acknowledge that it probably, you all here as a body should have probably been somewhere here in the timeline as well. I have 2 more slides to go through, if that's okay, and then I'd like to hear what you're thinking. So in our, in coming up with some reconfiguration options, we looked at what areas could be potentially affected. And you'll see that most of these areas are fairly small, with a couple of exceptions, right? Dual enrollment, we thought it makes sense for the academic duties portion of it to come to academic affairs, while the student affairs related duties remain with student affairs. And ADC, we thought that might be one small enough, mighty enough, with great potential that could be probably put under a dean with more bandwidth, if you will, to make sure that that program reaches its potential and it receives the support that it needs to be able to do so and reach their goals. And then there's a couple of areas here that you can see, and the criteria that most of these areas meet is what you see on the screen here. We looked at program size, meaning the smaller the program, the more mobile it might be to move around and have less impact on faculty, staff, and therefore students. We looked at the mobility for the program and its feasibility to be moved to someone else if we needed to. And of course, what makes sense organizationally. So those were the criteria that we looked at in identifying what could potentially move if need be. And then, of course, the next steps is to finalize the options that we are considering in terms of reconfiguring academic affairs. And then, of course, take it to the various groups that we need to run it by, and then, of course, announce and publish. So that is, in a nutshell, where we are with the academic affairs project, reconfiguration project.
Thank you, Maria. So you are an information item, so people can ask, we can't discuss, but are there any points of clarification? If you want to send that to me, I can put that under our resources tab. If you would like senators to get feedback from their departments, you can do that.
I will do what pleases the Senate at this point.
Would you guys like that? Would you like to have that as a resource? Yes. So a resource for sure. Thank you. Any other? Kathy?
Maria, when do you expect to make some decisions about the reorganization? Some of us are nervous.
I sense that nervousness even via Zoom, through Zoom. I'm sensing that vibe. I am hoping sooner rather than later. I do have some ideas now after having had the discussions that I wanted to have with the various constituencies, with the admin assistants, with you guys, the potentially affected areas, now with the Senate. I am hoping that I can finalize that in the next week and a half or so. I am We do have one of our deans who is on vacation right now, and to be fair to everyone, I don't want to make any decisions without having everyone be part of that conversation, final conversation. So I'm anticipating in the next 2 weeks, I will have something more solid to propose as a viable option.
So Maria, would you be willing to be on as a discussion item on the next Senate meeting? So 2 weeks from now? Okay, all right.
Absolutely.
Thanks. All right. Any other points of clarification or anything?
I do want to, are you asking me? Yes.
I'm asking anyone, but.
Okay,
go for
I
it.
do want to share with you that while I am not sharing the specific data that has informed these that will be informing these options, please rest assured that I have used data. All 11 variables that you saw that are being considered have been quantified. With the help of the Institutional Research and Effectiveness Office, we have come up with total workload index, which is chartable and is able to tell me where the imbalances are so that we can ensure that actually reaching the goal that we originally had. However, I'm not sharing that purposely because I don't want this visual graph to be perceived or misunderstood by anyone across the campus as this dean works harder than this other dean. And so in my attempt to protect everyone's efforts and everyone's hard work, I'm purposely not sharing that. But I do want you to know I am using data. We are using data that is quantifiable, and we are feeling pretty comfortable with how reliable that is in informing our options.
And Maria, okay, yeah, I have one quick question for you, and then we have a question from Joy. So my question for you is are those weighted, or are they all given the same weight?
None of the variables were weighted, and that is actually a great question because we discussed weighing them or not ad nauseum. And when I say ad nauseum, trust me, it was ad nauseum. And what we concluded with the deans and I is that unless, and actually the advice of the institutional researcher was that unless we were going to be prepared to unanimously agree that the full-time faculty variable versus special operations and assignments variable, one was going to be more important than the other, right? Way heavier than the other, that it might not make sense to go there at all. And that in the end, because we were using so many variables, that everything would balance out anyway. And so we chose not to weigh each variable. So each variable right now is, I guess, counts, weighs the same as all the others.
Thank you. Joy, you had a question.
Yeah, hopefully it's a straightforward question. If we didn't see our division on that list that you just showed, should we expect that our dean remains the same, or we won't be getting a new dean or split division?
Yes, and yes, it is a pretty, yes, that is exactly what you should assume, because if you are not on that list, you will not be impacted. Additionally, some areas on the list will also not be impacted. This was as comprehensive of a list as possible, that any indication that we could potentially move an area or impact an area, I wanted to make sure that was on that list. And so even areas on that list might not be impacted at all.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. All right, moving on from that.
Thank you.
Brings us to Academic Senate elections. Kim, that's yours.
All right, yes, spring has sprung. The time to do this. So the first item is the elections committee, and I think 2 people can be a committee. That is all we have, and Elizabeth, if you don't know her, that was a very dry sense of humor. So I welcome you. If anybody else from this body would like to join us, it's minimal work. You will like look at a timeline, and look at my email that I'm sending out. And you know, kind of just think about running something for a very short time. But we should meet this Friday or Monday because spring is ending. And we need to elect our Senate president before we then elect our senators. And they all need to be seated on May 10th. And the new senators, everyone else, the current members are all here for electing the vice president. So that's happening on our last meeting as well. So we have just enough time. So if anybody's super excited right now, just raise your hand. You know, it's an item. I don't see it, but if you change your mind, email me by 5 tomorrow to be included in this committee. That's around the election. So, okay. So that's the first item. As the agenda notes, it's the term for the Senate president. And of course, the email we send out will have more information about how to handle it. And we get to use templates from the past. The group of senators were attached to this item too. So there are 4 senators in group A. And so we will be reaching out to them, but since, you know, with too many emails. So Ellen's seat from educational support, which is the first seat. Joy already, you were finishing a term. So Joy's seat, she's at 2 years. Kathy's. And Anna as the credit part-time. Those are the 3 seats that are up for this semester. And then I already mentioned the VP one. So, all right. You went fast, I think.
I'm stunned that nobody wants to be on that committee.
Yeah, it's so minimal.
A clarifying question. So what if your division is in a situation where there are new hires coming in that would change how many full-time faculty we have? And it could mean the difference of us having 1 senator or 2 senator. Are we gonna assume that the hires will go smoothly and run for that 2nd senator position, or just hold a special election later? And then my second question is, what if a senator who's currently serving out a term doesn't wish to finish their term? Who should they contact about that? Should it be you and
Yes.
Elizabeth?
Yes, should be me and Elizabeth. So the first question, I do think we have to wait until they're hired and have a special election. You know. Usually, but and then for the finishing out the term, yes, I mean, they can contact the. Is it somebody who has a 2nd senator, they can have them do it for it, like it's your division, it's a divisional issue if somebody's leaving their seat. So the divisional rep can contact you.
But they still have to have an election, obviously.
Yeah, and just to finish that, whatever's left of
Oh, I
the term,
see.
it's not like you go into the.
So they
other
go
seat.
in for like 1 or 2 years or whatever.
Right.
I
Yeah,
see. Would it be held at the same time as the Group A Senate election?
I think if this person knows now, we should do that now, because then we have the person here and on and ready to go.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. I've never done this before,
Yes,
but so are you willing to babysit me through this process?
that would be a joyful experience.
Yeah, I can make it fun, I imagine in some way.
I already know that. Yeah,
Sweet.
what a team.
So I'm willing to participate.
I'll be talking to you after the, you have to run right at 5. Okay, then let's make our meeting before we leave.
Sure,
So much easier than emailing about meeting.
I would, but I would, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Don't email.
Now I'm even more excited.
Look at the synchronicity happening here, huh? The thing of beauty. Okay, excellent. And then also, obviously, please encourage people to run for all of the events that are open, right? All of the positions that are open. President, people in your division who you think would be, for the divisions that are up, who would be good for senators. That's just what we need to do. I think the more people get involved, the better it is for everyone. Okay, I just want
Since Melanie said that, I wasn't sure if I should do this. I'm gonna add something. if you want to ask someone and they only want to do it if no one else will, that's a totally appropriate thing to explore. In other words, Melanie, it's so good, it's good to have an election. No, some of this stuff sucks. I'm happy to have one. And so like, if they want to say, hey, I'll be, oh my gosh, you need somebody person, that is cool. Contact me.
Yeah, that's good enough.
Yes, tell them. You don't put anything in writing. So I just want to put that out there for this is a.
I just want to say that on the side of democracy, this side of the table.
I'm not taking that line down. That is not my information item.
It is, your information. I stepped on your information. That's true. That's totally true. Okay, all right, good. So the one thing that I want to emphasize in my president's report is you have the liaison reports there, is that Ben Reyes will be off for the remainder of the semester. He has sort of work issues, he and his wife. And so the substitute rep for the business division is Cornelia. Okay, so she will be voting for Ben and representing her division there. Okay, so that brings us to our action items. 7.1 planning and resources. Bill Dinklage is, I believe, in the desert,
Yes, he is.
which seems.
He's on a field trip.
What I love is just the pause and all of these different words that come out. Yeah, awesome. Awesome. It is awesome. Has anyone been? I want to go on one of those trips. That looks so good. So we have, can you, Margarita, please bring up their memo? So PNR approved this, and what we need to do now is vote on this. So I need to make it, yes.
Just so everyone knows, we did rank all of the items that were in program review, so there's nothing that was left off the list. We do this every year. We rank what's there. Each division has an opportunity, an extended opportunity to justify their request. And the committee members go to their divisions to discuss things. And so I just want you to know that everything that came to us was ranked. And we do not know at this time how much money there's going to be.
Okay, Margarita, this is the TLC. Can you grab, which we will need in just a moment, but can you grab from 7.01?
Oh, you know, when you'll know how much money and all that.
We're hoping to know this summer. Last year, it was very delayed and it was very problematic, and we've gotten some promises from the county that we will probably know this summer. And I reinforced that question to Brian Fonstock, who came to PNR yesterday, that we really need to get this money so that we can purchase items for the fall.
Okay.
Thank you, Margarita. And can you scroll down a little on that, please?
One of my favorite part was, oh, what is a rotary shaper? Not for this, but when I was on.
Okay, so this is an action item. Yeah,
Oh, just a question. I was looking at the spreadsheet. So does that, that's linked from this document?
should be.
The actual ranking. So does that represent all of the things, all
Yep.
of the equipment that was requested? So
Yes.
it doesn't include furniture, it's other types of
We don't deal
equipment.
with furniture.
Yeah.
We have very specific things that we rank. It's
Mhm.
only instructional equipment. It's not furniture. Furniture goes through the VP's office.
Mhm.
Great question.
It was unusual. We had so few requests this year. I'll make a motion to approve this list.
Motion to approve, motion second by
Second.
Chris, seconded by Chris. Okay. And now we can discuss. Any questions? Any other questions? No? Yeah, it is clean. Okay, are you ready to vote?
I think I have a question. Cause I was reading stuff as you were speaking, so I'm sorry.
No, all good.
You
all
already
good.
said it, but. There's rankings and nothing guaranteed though, right?
Nothing's
Right.
guaranteed. Everybody knows that.
So. For. Like gases, in my opinion, those are gas sensors and biochambers for the biology department. That could be really hazardous and. If it's an O2 gas sensor, then I'm not sure that this is something like on a tank. And you need to make sure there's no leaks of CO2 or oxygen. I think both of those are important.
I would
But I
imagine,
don't know if there's more information elsewhere that. we can get into.
well,
I'm thinking this is a health and safety issue.
well,
Yeah,
every division, Bill represents sciences, so he got all the information for everybody. But I can tell you this, that if it's a health and safety issue, it will be funded regardless of how something's ranked.
okay,
So if the department needs to make that case, they just need to send it to their dean. And for that amount of money, it'll get funded.
yeah, I just realized that.
Yeah. We can only rank on information that we get, and each divisional rep does the best research that we can. And I know that Bill talked to everybody, so, but that, if that is in fact, a health and safety issue, you should actually probably request it now and get it funded.
Thank you.
It's actually a great idea, then it drops off and it frees up some money, so. Okay. All right, are you ready to vote? Yes, all right, we have Tricia. And I think Tricia's our only senator online, so if you're voting for two people, can you hold up two hands, all in favor? Okay. Yeah, all right, perfect, by acclamation, thank you, everyone.
Thank you, PNR, appreciate that.
Yeah, and we appreciate PNR, they're really hard to do. All right, now, this should be no surprise to anyone. Okay, Margarita. Well, wait, yeah, that's coming up, right? But what we have, so we've got this strange question here of 7.02 and 7.03 really is a pair. 7.02 is the vote to disband CFR. CFR voted on that to disband. And part of why they were voting to disband was to create 7.03. Yeah, we kind of have to take those two as a package, even though they're technically separate. So I thought we have to start by voting no, so there's a space for the yes. If that makes any sense. Okay, so can I hear
I'll make a motion to approve to get it in discussion.
thank you for that. Motion to approve and Chris, second.
Sure.
Joy was trying. Joy, you can even make the motion to approve. I don't care.
Okay, so any questions about the disbanding? Also, we have in person, thank you so much for coming. Justina Buller, who is the chair of CFR. And what are your many other titles, Justina?
Professional. Definitely professional development.
Right, and a history, an environmental history professor, and Josh Ramirez in psychology.
Co-chair for COE and faculty distance education coordinator.
And
And the list goes on. It's titled my project.
There we go.
okay, so they can answer, they are here to help us. You've seen them many a time before. Any questions about disbanding CFR?
Maybe a little.
Really? Okay.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
I read through sort of briefly, so maybe I missed it. So who then or what group will be working on our in-service presentations, and will it stay with teaching and learning? Or does it go to you as an individual professional development coordinator? So what happens with those decisions?
I think it's near the end of the document.
Okay,
Yeah.
sorry if I missed. it.
Margarita, can you scroll to page 3 of this document, please?
But I mean, maybe that would. A rude way to answer, like, I
No,
can do
it's
it faster. We can use the document. So,
Keep up, Margarita.
the CFR, just to make sure I understand your question, CFR was never planned in service, so in terms of spread with PDAC.
Okay, so there's no influence at all from our CFR committee to what should be happening on in service?
There is informally, not informally, what I want to say is a kind of weak charge that currently is the CFR to collaborate with PDAC.
Okay.
We have kept that will remain with the new committee, so that's not disappearing. My hope.
Which
so-
color is it? Oh, okay,
She's answering
sorry,
the question.
yes.
Yeah, so my hope, and this, you know, it's just my hope that the committee can sign this once it's formed, is that relationship could be strengthened, absolutely.
And on the screen, you'll see that's number 8. So these are all color coordinated. And so this is number 8 from CFR, collaborates with the Professional Development Committee. And that's under part of the charge
Okay,
for
there it is.
TLC.
Okay,
So it would be a carryover, there's a number of carryovers.
Okay.
Which we'll talk about in a moment.
Yeah.
Okay, good question. Any other questions?
are we gonna discuss this more though, or is?
No, what we're doing is we're discussing the disbanding first. We vote to disband, and then we
Right.
vote for,
But don't we have to discuss them both together in order to know if we want to disband or not?
Yeah, you
I mean,
can't vote on it.
You can't, I mean, we need to know what's gonna happen
and-
before we say no to what is happening.
so,
Okay.
yeah, but parliamentarily, is there a way to have 2 motions working together? Because that means that we need to have 7.03 also open, right? Because
I
7,
thought we can make it one motion, that's fine.
It's all here in one document. Can we not?
that's 7.03, not 7.02. Ellen, did you have an idea?
I was gonna say, could someone make a motion to approve the disbanding conditional on the approval of the restoring of the committee on teaching and learning?
That's a great,
I'll change my motion to that if you want.
well, that could be an amendment, but it's just way
Yeah.
easier to change it to that. So can you remove your motion?
I will, please remove my motion marked for Margarita. Take that emotion out of there. And I'll make a motion to approve the disbanding conditional to the discussion on the creation of the new committee. Is that what you wanted me to do? Okay,
I
so
have clarification, I thought the idea was a motion to approve the disbanding if we
Conditional.
conditional upon the approval of creating the new.
wasn't that what I said?
Right.
It didn't sound about maybe, I don't know.
I don't know.
She
Do
said
what you.
discussion.
That's right.
Yeah, she said discussion, you said discussion, not approval.
Well, discussion, oh, well,
That thing-
somebody else do it better than me. Forget it.
Okay, so the motion on the table is to disband CFR conditional upon approval of TLC.
I'll take that.
Okay, so,
Who wants-
all right, Russell coming in tall and strong with the seconding of that one. Thank
Sorry
you.
if I confused.
No,
you
that's
two.
good. All right, so now we can talk about 7.03. This is, Margarita, would you mind scrolling up to the top? Sorry. So what I decided to do on this, this is not persuasive in any way. This is not saying that, COI has to do this or that. This is simply taking the existing charges. Where did I get these from? I got these from our website. Numbering those charges. And then also I wanted you to see what the disbanded TLC was, because CFR became the TLC. Oh, yeah, got that the wrong way around, right? Right, so TLC became the CFR and now oh my God. May I just say that when I had this, I know I did practice it, but when I had this as a PowerPoint and I decided it was too confusing as a PowerPoint, so that's why it's on a page, I said, I know you did tell me, yeah. So TLC, CFR, COI, or an exercise in acronyms is what the subtitle is gonna be.
Definitely a lot of acronyms.
A lot of acronyms. So there was the Committee on Teaching and Learning, the CTL, which was disbanded to become the Committee on Faculty Resources, which is now asking to be disbanded to become the TLC, which is much cuter than CTL.
Too cute.
Yeah, okay, so we've got the existing charge for CFR, the existing charge for COI. Why is the existing charge for COI there? It's because part of the charge for TLC, as we've talked about, is so that we can put certification of online teaching there. And as we just saw from the info item coming out of the FA, that question of who's certifying teaching is really important. So Margaret, if you could scroll down a little more. Thank you. So there's the old CTL, and scroll down to the next page, please. And so stop right there is perfect. So 4 main focuses for the TLC. And with examples from them. So that's just the vision for TLC. And then it gets added in. And at this point, I'll step away and let Justina and Josh lead us through. Yeah, lead us through the chart. Kathy's muttering over here, which is why I paused.
I wasn't muttering, I was sighing.
Okay, well,
That's different than a mutter.
okay, all right.
I'm trying to figure this out.
Okay, so do you guys want to leap in here or? Or do you want me to keep going?
So one of the things that this TLC is going to be collected with, and I think I'm a very strong proponent of this one, is on mentoring for faculty. You need a committee to be able to speak to instruction concerns with regard to career teaching. A big component of that also is with the shift that we've had in terms of online and hybrid instruction and the blending of our in-person instruction with online components or technology enhanced instruction. You would need something of a committee to be able to handle that rather than just even, I think, just one-on-one peer-to-peer mentoring. We not to discount the experiences that our more seasoned online instructors have. But this is new territory for us. Our instruction has changed by leaps and bounds as a result of moving online as a result of COVID. And we felt that it would be a much more affirming process to have the committee actually serve as a group of mentors. And to be able to have multiple disciplines represented in as well. Certification of online teaching is exactly one of the reasons why we need a committee with divisional representation all across campus. And again, that's because this is no longer considered just online instruction versus face-to-face. We have a blending of all of these different modalities. We can look to a lot of the quality assurance standards that we have for online instruction. And at the same time, we can say we're asking evaluators to look at a lot. And on nearly 30 points of quality assurances that no one practically enforces. And at the same time, it's imbalanced when compared to what we do in face-to-face. In a lot of ways, what we do now in online instruction identifies some of the gaps that we have in our face-to-face instruction as well. So you need a committee to be able to weigh in on this. We currently have protocols that say if you're new to online instruction, that you should have a faculty mentor. But who's to say that that faculty mentor alone is going to be versed in all the new things that are coming down with regards to online instruction? So I think the better approach would be to have a team to be able to look at that. And then there's instructional onboarding. One of the things that Justina and I tried to do at our first attempt was to try to overhaul new to SBCC faculty orientation. But one big thing that popped up was, what about our adjunct faculty? How many of our part-timers are put at risk of not succeeding at being part of our community and also having the longevity to stay where we need them if they're not going to want to have more of an official welcome to the campus, and also an opportunity to be able to meet other part-timers outside of their department and outside of their division. They need more community. And I think that's a great incentive for them to be here. It is hard enough to be able to hire full-time faculty, part-time faculty who teach very specialized courses. We need them to be here. And so a committee that would help connect part-timers and put them on there, I think would be an important feature. It's actually one of the biggest selling points, I think, for this. Our part-timers deserve to feel like they belong to this community. And then pedagogical support for any faculty member who has this desire to be able to improve their instruction, particularly when it comes to anything DEIA related. It's one thing to have professional development opportunities, but often these professional development opportunities try to be sort of the grab all for the entire campus, maybe not necessarily discipline specific. Having divisional representation, department-wide department representation on this committee could help with that, to be able to assume that it's professional development to what departments actually need or what they desire. So,
That just, you know, we might see that under a lot of those, as Josh just mentioned, it's something that you and I are doing in our current position. And I think both of us have felt inadequate for the last year or so in these positions, because we know our field, we know our discipline. And having a committee, again, with division by representation, doing a lot of this work, started what we see is important, we see progress happening, but we need bigger, more support. Behind all of it.
Let's just pause right there on the blue alone. Any other questions? Thank you guys for elaborating.
The only thing to add to that is from the CAC perspective here to put it in numbers for folks if you haven't heard me mention it with a side. We used to only have maybe about 200 or so courses that were offered fairly routinely online, and we now have near 1,000 that can be offered online because of the emergency approval. And when I say online, it's anywhere from 1% online to 100% online. So there are all these different flavors now of modalities. You have fully online, you have hybrid. Is it hybrid synchronous? Is it hybrid asynchronous? Is it credit? Is it non-credit? Is it high flex? Is it blended? Is it this? Is it that? And we're trying to capture all of that in the course outline of record. And faculty need help in course design to do this. The modalities, the content may carry over between each modality, but how you focus and design the instruction is different. Sometimes folks think, well, I've taught online, I know how to teach a hybrid. Well, hybrids are their own modality and folks need more support. And at CAC, we can only give so much support alone. So I really appreciate the roles that Justina and Josh have taken on over the last year. And I'm gonna echo their call to put this work under a committee that has a charge for accountability and responsibility so that it doesn't feel piecemeal. You know, because it often just comes down to, well, who has time this month to help this person? These modalities are not disappearing. And we have to adapt with the times.
I just want to say one thing. I really liked as I was putting this together and I was just taking material that people had given me. Let's focus on support for the committee. You know, 3 out of 4 of the charges, the examples are support people, so that it would be a resource that you could go to. Like, this is just not working. Help me. I thought I got this and now it's slipped away from me. And it could be it's in real time, so you don't have to wait until the end of the semester.
Kathy, which committee has taken, I've tried to find it and I probably missed it, but which group is gonna take over some responsibility for the distance ed plan and for other policy language changes that need to occur? I didn't see that anywhere.
So Margarita, could you keep scrolling down? Keep going, we then kind of parcel out where all the things that currently live in COI and CFR, where are they gonna go? Because we don't want things to just disappear and suddenly nobody. Josh, maybe you can speak a little more, because she's really talking about it.
With regard to COI, one of the things that was brought up in conversation, we've had many meetings about this TLC committee. And there hasn't been any opposition to the idea of having a TLC take over. At least some of the things that COI has initially touched on. Z did meet with COI to be able to say, can you help us with designing some of the metrics that we would look at, especially given all of the new modalities that we are starting to adopt. But at the same time, COI, what has been brought up in conversation of the idea that what brought people to that committee was that desire to look at new technological tools. That was what the committee was most popular for, that was their primary focus. And that perhaps the distance ed plan could actually sit with its recommendations actually come from TLC. Again, we're happy to be able to weigh in on this particularly if there are new tools that will have some strong consequences for pedagogy.
Yeah. I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, it's also really important to note that this whole section, how does this affect COI? That section is a minimum, and where that comes from is simply having gone through, the charges for COI, the charges for CFR, and so on. So that's the minimum COI could add to change things if it wanted. It's an ed programs committee. It's not a Senate committee. Yeah.
Just like when it comes to identifying pedagogical needs. One of the things that was listed further down on this document was the idea that the TLC might identify pedagogical needs and then say there's technology that we don't yet know in this committee that COI could turn to change towards. But that's also a relationship that runs two ways as well. There may be things that COI identifies technologically that will have a strong bearing on pedagogy for which they would be able to make recommendations to TLC. Like with anything like how are these tools going to affect how we actually collect data on the efficacy of any of our instruction on the overall picture on pedagogy. That could actually flow in the direction from COI to TLC as well. That there's an identifiable workflow between the two committees, I think actually is an important feature of having both of them work together too.
So I think Maria is still here. Are you still here, Maria?
I think she left.
Oh,
She
great.
had another meeting.
Because again, I mean, we're not really mentioning the DE plan, we're not really mentioning the policies necessarily. And so would that be something that as an ed programs committee possibly that the administration would give to COI, then COI would take that to the teaching and learning committee, who then would bring it, here. Somebody's got to take some responsibility for those plans, and even if it's not in our existing charge of COI, that's sort of where it's set.
Well, you're talking to a co-chair of COI, and Beth is here, who's the other co-chair of COI. That's a really interesting thought. Kim, is this a friendly, is this a connected thing?
Yeah, but I can wait.
Which yours
That
connected to
is
this?
also, I had something connected and something not connected.
Can we just stay on the connected bit right now?
Okay, connected bit. Okay, so I believe, when Kathy spoke about policies, I believe you also referenced or included AP 4105. Right, and it's my understanding that there's another player in that, and the CPAP. Right, so how are we envisioning this
But that's not a Senate committee,
That's
that's,
not a Senate committee, so I'm trying to understand the process, how, what we're talking about today, how that is then kind of like playing or interfacing with feedback. That it is a question.
So let's hold that question. Let's
Okay.
hear Kim's question and let's see how we can bring these three together.
I guess I think the VPAP is the thing for all of you. And there's a process where things move to VPAP and people on VPAP. I think that's a good process, but I wanted to speak to Kathy's point about the distance ed plan and how important it is that it is, I don't know, initiated by administration or sort of timelines and making sure you get your data from like whatever institutional IR. And so I assumed that was in Chloe's chart. It's always where it was with that dean who was the co-chair. And we are especially blessed that you guys in these chairship roles now, but when I was co-chair of Chloe, I was so happy Jens was kind of steering that plan. And then we get the feedback from the faculty, but honestly, in average, faculty's strength is not in handling things like these plans. So I just want to speak for the idea of kind of starting out of Chloe, going to the teaching learning committee and then coming to them. I think that's a very clear and healthy process.
So we could certainly make that suggestion. Again, this is a minimum, and this is all based on what's written as the resource, you know, what these committees do. And so that's how we got it. We're not trying to step on Coy's toes at all. And I think what you guys are discussing here is really clear and makes that move into TLC and to the Senate much more direct, much cleaner and more direct. So I think that could be maybe a friendly suggestion. Beth, are you still here? There she is. There you are, Beth.
I am still here.
You've become a human and not just a screen, so it took me a moment to not look for your name. Any comments that you would like to make on this discussion point of COI dealing with the DE plan?
Yeah, I would just reiterate what you were saying earlier in the meeting and what I think we talked about earlier this week, which is that what's described on the plan is the impact on COI of the plans of the Academic Senate, which is not to say that it's the full extent of all the things that COI is doing, or could do or should do, that taking what is sort of left at the end of your process and then figuring out what else gets added to that in order to really articulate the mission of COI or whatever we're going to call it moving forward, I think is another step in response to whatever you all decide today. But the DE plan is not just going to like lie down on the side of the road and die. Like the DE plan will move forward. So
For a while.
yeah. Well, we're reviving it or whatever, but yeah, the DE plan will get taken care of and that will get moved forward. That is fully in the plans.
Perfect, thank you. Okay, now over to Cornelia's question. Does this answer your question?
no.
No, not really, but
Not
I
really.
mean, I understand that there is a process for that. Does anybody know who's the lead for HB 4105? The BPAP lead for 4105? But we can like.
I can
discuss
find the chapter lead for that.
The integrating part of this is that often the things that we put in the plan have implications for policy language. And so that's why there needs to be some integration there and discussion. And to have something just show up at BPAP, I mean, somebody has to produce something that goes to BPAP. And then BPAP can throw it back again for more consultation, but somebody has to present something to BPAP. And it's got to be a committee, a Senate committee, or a committee like COI that would recommend language to CTL or to the Senate or wherever they think it's appropriate. Somebody's got to recommend the language change. It just doesn't pop up at BPAP.
Okay, so, I think hearing from the two chairs and hearing this point, we can keep this in mind for the charge of COI. Other questions about this document? If you can you scroll down a little more, Margarita, please? Ta-da! There is the new cleaned up new version without duplication. So this is what,
So this would include, charges already existing in CFR for this, so that I'm clear, it's now everything's together in one spot.
yeah, one color, no numbers.
I think Elizabeth actually in that. Okay, well, instructional onboarding, I would like to suggest that we replace the term adjuncts with part-time faculty. And also I would like to put emphasis on that because I really believe that we have been asking here in the Senate, the Faculty Association as well, several times to bring back the part-time faculty onboarding or orientation, and which was in place when I started here, but that was 2001. And at some point it was dropped. And so this is very dear to my heart, and I would like to encourage you to really focus on that. That's my one question. The other question is I hear a lot about instructional faculty here and instruction. Is there any place for educational support faculty in this proposal? And where did I miss that?
Under the mentoring, so we specified instructional and educational support goals.
Okay, I see now, yeah.
And then, the same thing under many of the, clearly the online teaching, not so much. But I did also want to add a suggestion that came through from a colleague in ed support when the agenda went public on Sunday. And this was for why she gave me permission to share. Which I think is everybody's goal that's been a part of it. Maybe even thinking about calling it the teaching, learning and counseling committee, something like that, that makes it really clear. Like these are supposed to be resources for faculty across the entire array of like faculty on it.
Counseling is just one piece too.
Right. So again, just a suggestion, we can be creative with the name here and really like, what can we do to get faculty to see? Again, we need that cross campus representation. And so like on the CFR, as long as I've served there, we've been really limited. We've often had a librarian serving as support, right, which is really great. We've never had counselors there, and like librarians and counselors, different things. They're both shit. And so I would encourage us to think about whether it's through the name or other things. Like how can we make this really speak to the needs of all of us?
Ellen.
Okay, yes, a couple of things on this. So I first raised my hand because I was curious about the committee membership. There are some Senate committees, I believe, this one and FPSF maybe are the only ones that specify the library director or not department chair specifically as a member. And I don't know if that means as one of the ESD representatives or in addition, but it's named, that role is named specifically. So I think having that would be valuable, both librarian and maybe also as the department chair of counseling or whoever they designate. And then in terms of the naming, just looking at the proposed charge here, I can see a few places where like under instructional onboarding, it could even be instructional and academic support or instructional and educational support onboarding, just like adding more things so that sort of at every step of the way, we're acknowledging the ways ESD faculty support our students and the way instruction is not just in the classroom. I would, however, the idea of, I can't remember exactly what it was, but the adding counseling. I wouldn't go so far as to add a specific role, because like, if we were to add specific, non-instructional roles, there's many more than counseling.
Right.
Like Kathy, I think mentioned that, so there's, and you know, there are some that are more directly related to courses and instruction. And some that are also really important, like, personal counseling or career center or whatever. So I think if we could, can you, remind me what it was that Wire had suggested, the language?
When teaching learning counseling, so the
Yeah.
TLC, but.
Oh, I see.
You know, like, we're trying to break down the idea, or move away from the idea that only classroom that we
Yeah.
teach, like, everybody was now. And so teaching and learning is something that, all, but I think she was feeling it.
But
And maybe like we like specify more in the charge and add
Yeah.
what we're talking about with hope.
And I think, I don't care, well, I don't care so much whether the acronym is cute, to be honest. So, but it's, so, and I do certainly think, and I think, most CSD faculty would feel this way too, that we do teach, it's just not always in the classroom, although many of us teach credit courses as well. But, so I think the charge is more important, but if we were, to propose a different name for the committee, it could be something like, teaching, learning, and educational support, which would cover our division.
But that's, well, let's hold off on the name. I totally see that. I love instructional and ed support onboarding. I think that's really clever. And if you have any other ideas of what that can be, just please keep a list of those because we can tweak this. That's a good question. Elizabeth, thank
I have
you.
a more general question. So when a committee is made and you have the charge, or like when we create the committee, are we voting on creating it and this? And if so, if the committee wants to change this, do we then have to vote on that?
The committees are allowed to change. They can come back and they can say, oh, we think we need to do this, and they come back to the Senate. And then there's a vote from there. So any committee at any point can say, we used to do this, but now we want to do this. And so the idea is to build in that growth coming also from within the committee. Because there might be a fifth thing that we have absolutely zero ideas on the horizon. So this is not frozen in time.
It's not frozen in time, but we review any change.
We review any change. And then also, you know, I think as you put it last time, I think it was you. But it was a great point. It was like, how can we vote on something if we don't know what it's supposed to do? And so here's the outline of what that would be. Chris.
Yeah, I guess related question or comment about the charge here as well. Obviously, we've seen a proposal and the online teaching certificate may be required, but as a representative from a large department, large division, we have a strong tradition of mentoring and instructional onboarding already. So I wonder if some of the perceived inadequacies are because, and forgive me if I'm assuming incorrectly, that maybe from smaller divisions. And I'm wondering what effect this would have. Would this also be a requirement then? This mentoring and adjunct reporting, I guess, to this new committee? Or will that be optional? Just not sure how that's going to be handled because, like I said, we do that in-house already.
There's been a lot of discussion about that on my committee, because we have 2 reps.
Yeah, we've got 2 reps here. Go one
Yeah.
more thing.
Yeah, and their way-in was very similar. But also what we talked about was that ideally what the committee would do is ask divisions or departments, what do you need? Where can we fill the gaps for you? So it's gonna be different for different people at where they are at. What I would love to see, like, this is just Tina's wish or dream for the future. Maybe in 15 years, it does become a charge of the committee because we built that capacity in each department and division. But right now, English is to some extent singular in that. It's a really kind of hit and miss, and so I just don't want it to be up to the luck of the draw for the adjuncts that I happen to be in a department where I get support. And so this would not be adding extra things to your plate. You don't need help or support, that's fine. Does that help?
Yeah, I think it does.
Kim?
Want to comment on that is in the same department, I think it's important to have a space outside that individual faculty can go to. So, to me, I don't think this chart should ever go away. And I also think the interaction across areas is super important. I think that is so fruitful. That's been one of our problems. Now that we're coming back from COVID, we don't have a space in which to do that across areas. So I feel like that invitation to get the orientation is super important to build that community. And that place to go. I mean, they might not like how the chair is presenting this kind of stuff, and it happens, you know, so I think it's, so that's would be my feeling, Chris, we do our practices, but there's other space people can go to if they need to. And then I wanted to speak, I thought Ellen's idea about thinking about academic counselor requirement on the committee, I would find that incredibly cool, because I do feel like academic counseling knows stuff. So what goes on instructionally, and thankfully, you know, we have friends and we ask them and tell us stuff, but I would love to see a clearer conduit, because I feel like from that side of the house, there's a lot of insight that classroom faculty don't get, except for the ones who do both, like Alex, so that she can bring that, but and a lot of counselors I know teach PD classes and stuff, but I feel like there isn't enough of an opportunity for that kind of input from the counseling side. And so whenever we hear these things about like, oh, the pass, no pass deadline or this or that, it's like counselors take care of that stuff, yes, but instructional faculty need to understand that a little better. So like this committee would be such a really wonderful place to share some, you know, shared practice about some of those things. I would love to see an academic counselor see identify on the committee.
Oh, yeah, just a quick, the other end of the spectrum. So within my division, overwhelmingly, we might have one full-time faculty per department, perhaps two. And they come directly from industry with no educational experience and, right, not even formal as a student. Usually an AA is the, you know, the bar that we set. And so while they're very successful at what they do, the ability to teach that and instruct and inform can be incredibly challenging. So I've already seen the effect of the mentorship program. So we have a new onboard faculty who's come in and directed not just outside of their department, but we're going outside the division. We're just sending them to, you know, teachers that have been identified as you know, the rock stars within their field, and they're coming back and, you know, I would be out of here were it not for this. So it's, you know what I mean? No, seriously, they're just like, the industry is so much easier, right? They're like, no way, forget the benefits. So anyway, I just wanted to, you know, because what's happening, I've already seen, we're gonna retain at least two people that have one foot out the door. And it's still better than college.
Well, Melanie.
Exactly, that's what I'm.
Okay, let's not stop retaining people.
Yeah,
maybe we did something wrong by accidentally retaining someone. No, that's.
Here, so I think you take this guy.
That's all.
Again, my question is sort of a follow-up, because I could see this committee, just the mechanics of what they would do, they would get overwhelmed with work. So if we're asking all of these things, you know, I know there was some talk about tying it to evaluations if you're got your online certification and those kinds of things. It's like, how will that committee handle all that work if people are going to them periodically for evaluation? And then, yeah, all these, what about the people that just feel like they could make their course better, but they're not on any cycle, then adjuncts? Isn't, like, what am I missing? That seems like it could keep 30 people full-time busy. If you really took the stigma out of it to stay, just go here and say, can you look at this? What am I doing wrong? Because that's my vision of it. But then how do the mechanics of that, of serving everybody work?
So the flip side is within this program, there is a budget, it has a fixed amount, it's built in 2 hours a month. And the mentor and the mentee get paid for that time for us to sit down, collaborate, how I can help you with your budget, right? Sometimes it's not, but yes.
Is it already there that's
Within the specific example that I'm doing, because I am a mentor and, helping a mentee, and yes, that a budget is there. And since I'm already what I consider well paid, I do not submit mine so that that person gets twice the paid instruction. So, yeah, anyway, just because I think it's really important.
Currently being paid for by a C grant that we applied for last year. And we're always like kind of putting the cart before the horse a little bit. We've also applied for a chancellor's office grant to fund very robust faculty onboarding orientations like that. We don't know yet whether we've gotten that, but our heads are going there. And we've also been in extensive conversation with our PTA, she left already. And she's very supportive of this. And Melanie has talked about this, like people's vision is like, we're not really thinking about even just the committee, we're thinking about a teaching and learning hub. Where we have like institutional support and services for this long term. So I think the committee is the place to start, right? And yeah, we're not gonna be able to do everything at first, or to handle or serve everybody at first. But the resources we do have right now are our position. So Joshua and I have mostly, well, TL is reassigned to these positions. And we have negotiated institutionalizing of these positions. We'll be out in 2 years, other people will cycle in and apply for it. But that's a lot of hours, a lot of resources.
And the other thing that we requested, after Justina and I leave our respective positions, and this gets legacy, hopefully to someone else. Whereas we have said, let's see our position through to 2025. The recommendation that Justina came to, and that I agree with, that these positions should be for 5 years, really, for the coordinators, because that gives enough time for that person to be mentored into these positions and also to apply for grants as well. It takes a while to be able to get this off the ground so that there is backup, so that there's funding for faculty support. While at the same time, there are trainings that we have developed to help to be able to scale up the support that we can offer. All of this lives online, in addition to what already is coming out of the FRC. Where we haven't figured out everything about how to scale this up, the same challenges that CAC is running into when it comes to all of these requests for online and hybrid courses and everything in between. But that's where we need a starting discussion point, where Russell and where Kim have a point that gets at what we're trying to build out of this community is a space for that dialogue to happen. Having done faculty professional development for nearly a year now, what I can say is faculty on an individual basis are very hesitant to share their practices because of this fear that somehow, if they actually say, this is what I do in the classroom, that it's going to come down on them when it comes to evaluation time. That's got to change. And so having a committee like this of your peers, where you can go to someone outside of your department, outside of your division, is not only a help for those faculty, but it also gives us a chance to actually share our practices across the division and also understand why is it that these divisions seemingly do not participate in faculty professional development. They are doing their professional development. They are trying to work within their disciplines. They don't have the capacity to handle everything perfectly. So having support outside of their divisions is important. I think that's where this is important.
I think it's exciting that it can be this place where people from various different, not only departments, but different parts of the college can meet up with each other and learn from each other. So I think, to me, that's one of the things that makes it really exciting. And I have mentioned that $20 million a number of times to various people about, let's have a robust teaching and learning center. We were given $20 million on some level to innovate. So I mean, it's gonna take a while for that dream to happen, but, you know, I've been asking various people for money. Just, anyway, Sharon.
Yeah, I was just gonna add to that, part of this proposal for this particular committee, built into it, because I know, because we talk all the time, is to have collaboration with other existing committees or places like the FRC, which we heard from Rob Brown at our last Senate meeting, or maybe it was Say, who actually said it, that they're overwhelmed. They cannot do this alone. And currently they are the place to go for instructors to get help in their course designs or anything dealing with pedagogy, and they're happy to do it, but it's too much. And the same thing happens at CAC. We put together, I can't even tell you how many guides we put together in the last year, but it's still not enough. And so the idea is that it's going to take an actual village to, you know, use an old adage, to get this work done, that it isn't just gonna be on the shoulders of this new committee. Not at all. There will be some times where someone may come to this new committee, they'll say what they need, like, oh, actually, we really, I'm gonna put you into touch with Rob, or I'm gonna put you into touch with CAC. And now we're gonna make sure there's follow through, and then you're gonna get what you need. So I think collaboration is baked in to the design of this committee, and I do really want to stress that. I don't want to lose sight of what Rob and Say were mentioning previously, because the FRC does amazing work, but they can't do it alone.
And student success is rooted in teaching and learning, wherever you are on whatever part of campus. Right, individually responding to what that student needs at that moment, figuring out how to do that. Okay, where are we? Any other questions at all? Okay. Elizabeth.
All right. So just want to clarify how this right in my brain. So the certification for online teaching, is this required in everyone right now?
No.
No, right? Correct. Okay. So if you develop that, right, until it's required, just kind of like, hey, come do it, or, okay.
Cornelia?
There's something in AP 4105 that you have to do prior to having trained. Right, to be trained.
So that's not a state law, but there's no follow through. It's kind of what we're talking about here, because our college is kind of unique, that we don't have an official certification or recertification process. If you compare, even just to our close neighbors, they all have one in addition to their AP 4105. So yes, technically you have to have so many hours of training. But who's checking in on that?
Or like say the thing last time, you know, there was a department that hired an adjunct 2 weeks before the semester started to, you know, someone urgent to do someone. They're the only person they could get, and this person never taught online, so it was up to that RC in 2 weeks to be showing them.
Right.
Sure, so it's good for that, so I guess my main question is, that makes sense. But then, say it is required at some point, or whatever, because I know there's that article thing. Would this committee then be in charge of like making sure people do it? Is that what's included in this, or what's that?
Well, that the school,
That later thing is talked about?
maybe, but the school, right, intends for us to be certified for online teaching. That's clear, given what they're negotiating or asking for in negotiations. Right, and so if we don't do it, they will do it.
I'm just wondering if the committee, like, that seems like a lot for everybody to take on, like making sure every online teacher is certified, like that.
No, I don't see that being the charge of the committee, that the committee, the charge would be in consultation with the Senate, with open transparent process, we determine what that certification is. Yeah, I think that's where a lot of discussion and kind of tension with administration, we don't want them to tell us what that certification is. Okay, yeah.
So the committee is developing it.
Right.
Not like, awesome.
Right, not the muscle.
No. I don't see it that, yeah.
Faculty have no muscle.
Cornelia?
Who tracked the training during COVID? Was that the?
Curriculum.
Yeah,
Curriculum.
which we're not really supposed to. But because we were tracking the emergency addenda.
Those were
They
tied.
were tied together in the same Google form,
Right.
which is why we have it.
But you could conceivably put that into a department chair, or there's many other places where you could put that. Okay. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, Tricia. Tricia. So sorry.
That's fine. Just a little bit about the certification, and I'm sorry if someone mentioned I missed it, but isn't it true also that a lot of other colleges do require that certification? So if one of our faculty, especially part-time, have been trained and are really good here at City College with online training, and then they go to another institution, it's like they have to get recertified again. So having a more of a formal certification would not only improve our teaching with our students, but also be beneficial for the faculty. So they can, or portability, right, of their training to other colleges.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point.
Yeah, so earlier, as Cornelia was going over this, I know I'm gonna get this from my division at next week's meeting. Is there talk amongst this with that D addendum that we all went through? Having that apply and be a certificate as the initial certificate, so we're already there. Is that a part of the negotiation?
So. This came to us this afternoon. We had 3 weeks ago a request for certification, recertification, but it was somehow it disappeared in the last 2 weeks, so it was not proposed in the last 2 negotiations. Came back today, so your question finds me a little bit unprepared to answer. But I do recall when I asked this question, I believe last time when Rob Brown was there, didn't he say, or didn't you say, somebody said these initial 18 hours could maybe establish a base level of certification? Was that the answer? I believe I asked this question here.
That was suggested by Rob, and I would be in agreement
Okay.
if that was the case.
Because Rob was talking about different levels of that.
And following up, thank you so much, Judge, and following up, I think this exactly is why the FAA is so reluctant starting, like engaging in negotiation at this point, because there's so many questions that the Senate has to work out first. And once that is worked out, the FAA would feel way more comfortable in like saying, okay, if we want to reference this somewhere in the contract, that's fine.
So Emma?
Actually, I'll pass.
Okay.
Getting in the weeds.
Yeah. Odd, strange details, that's kind of what we do, isn't it? Our specialty. Okay. So what we have on the table is a motion. And the motion is, if I can do this. Oh my gosh. I'm not gonna get the exact phrase. But to revoke the CFR and to instate, only to revoke the CFR if we are going to instate. Still technically work. Initiate. Well, no, restore.
The original motion was more along the lines of disbanding the CFR conditional on.
Thank you, unconditional on that.
On the restoration of the
TLC.
of the BTL as the TLC.
We
said the approval.
The approval, okay.
Restoration.
Yes.
So do we, so then I think we need to have a vote on the second part of that.
Oh, that's why.
The conditional, okay, all right, okay, I see where I see it. I see
One
it.
vote's good.
I'm on it. I got it.
No, we didn't go to the second.
Finally,
Right.
I'm there.
I
It was after.
parliamentarian. It's good.
Are you gonna throw in, it's gonna be like one of those ones you throw in a fake acronym.
I am, yeah.
ECM. Don't do that. Okay. It's really mean. All right, are we ready to vote? Okay, so this needs to, oh, math person. What? So this needs to pass by 2/3 of the total voting members. There's 17 total voting members. Doing English major math, that comes up with 11.2. So I am thinking that I'm gonna round that down to 11. So it would need to vote by 11 or pass by 11. It's 2/3 of 17, which is,
Should we do 12?
I think you need to do 12.
Yeah.
okay, all right.
Because with 11, it's less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's 11.22.
11.2, that's what I said, 11.2. I did that by my hand
Right,
and my head.
but they're right, it's better. to be-
I think you can round down.
One of us become a 0.2.
Well, that's what I was wondering. You're the shortest
I
here,
feel
so
like-
maybe we're the one with two.
Two.
Right, we've got a team of 0.2 over here. Okay, so let's have the vote. Remember, if you're voting for two, both hands up. All right, Tricia. We're ready to vote. Okay, all in favor? Please raise your hands. Only one of you is voting? Aren't you voting for Ben?
No.
Oh, Ben, that's right. You're not voting. You're not voting. I'm on it. I'm on it. Okay. All right. So, okay. By acclamation.
Yeah, but didn't have to count.
I didn't like the Gene was about to push me off. I saw you were like, wait.
Math all the time.
Unanimously approved.
Very good student.
All right, so. Unanimously approved. Okay.
So the second.
Yeah.
Ellen,
I would like to make a motion that, let me think how to phrase it. Let me look at the language on here. I would like to make a motion that we, restore what used to be the CTL as, the TLC with the, charge outlined in the proposal. However, contingent upon the changes we discussed in terms of more inclusive language that's more inclusive of ESD.
yeah, perfect. Great. Okay, all in favor? Tricia, perfect. Okay, by
Did
acclamation.
anyone second that, by the way?
No, they didn't.
Oh,
No, we're getting punched on, aren't we?
Inside.
I seconded.
Okay.
Okay, Tara, seconded by Tara. Okay. Moved by Ellen, seconded by Tara. Okay, awesome.
Also approved. Oh, we didn't check the vote. I thought.
What?
It wasn't unanimous.
It's,
So we
I can't hear you.
It wasn't unanimous. Was it?
Why?
Well.
There.
I'm gonna suggest that we have a
roll
we
call.
now have a motion in a second.
Yeah.
So now, yeah, we should.
Discussion.
Oh, yeah, we do need
Discussion, and I do think we either need to double check.
I did not vote because of, because there was a discussion, and because I'm not clear how this affects what we just
There we
voted
go.
on unanimously.
Perfect. All right, so it's discussion time.
I guess that's my question to Bonnie.
I can answer the question about, so the first motion that passed. If we approve this new committee, new / restored committee with new charges. Then the other one disbanded, that original motion.
Didn't we just vote on that though?
That's what we. That's why we did it that way.
We agreed to that.
But
It's reaching disband it if this passes, but if this new one passes.
Contingent.
Sorry, I thought that was the one.
I know, I was with you for a while.
I thought so too.
understand that.
I feel like the only thing Alan's adding is the ESD,
Yes.
the language. changing the name.
The reason we worked
Contingent
on that
upon
previous
inclusive
motion
language.
was like just logistical, that you have to disband one before you make the new one. So that first motion was contingent to disband if we then approve this new one. So yes, we're voting to approve the new one, and Ellen added the recognition that we might wanna, look at the language a little more to make it more clear. Which means I guess we bring it back to the next meeting or one more, well,
What?
well, with the language. Or not, I mean, I don't know, we could also do the language now, that's what we're having a
Yeah.
discussion for. And
And
it's
we
not
could wait to vote on it until the language is.
right, or if we just know we wanna add instructional education for onboarding, you wanna change adjunct to part-time, if that. I mean, if people take adjunct, be more respectful, that I guess part-time is the contract.
You know, I don't mind approving the formation of this new committee, but I think the Senate should see the roles laid out with membership clearly articulated to affirm it as a true Senate committee, just like we do with all of our committees. So we have the responsibilities, we have the membership. There was talk about asking to have a special counselor involved. I think the group needs to get together and decide how they are going to do that, add the inclusive language, and then just bring that back for like an affirmation of the Senate that we're comfortable with that.
Okay, so that will be on the next agenda.
That sounds great.
I mean, I think we can approve this because it makes the committee get moving on those things. We're approving the formation of this committee, and then that committee can,
Contingent upon,
and that actual committee can bring that information back to us for a final affirmation.
If I can just add to, just to make sure I'm understanding, so that we have our ducks in a row here too. When we're talking about the membership, we're still talking about divisional representation. We're
right.
talking about having a counselor, dedicated counselor, maybe as a resource or a voting member. You still gotta have somebody like Rob as at least a resource member. I would say you need a CAC resource member, right? So just to kind of keep those items. Right,
Right,
and
but
if
to-
there's any others that the Senate wants to like recommend before they go do this work.
Yeah, right, great.
And I think
You
you
know
have-
those things to bring back.
I think though for voting members, it needs to follow the Senate
yeah,
Division.
whatever,
protocol.
Yeah, I'm talking about
for
adding
who's
resources.
voting.
right,
Right.
right.
You want to make sure those spots are open for resource members.
Okay, so now I hear a number of different things. One was, yes, we have approved it contingent upon next time we bring back the
Yeah.
contingency. Yes,
Yeah.
so it's approved and yet slightly in abeyance.
No,
It's-
that's not what I.
well,
That's what I just said,
Well-
yeah. But it's approved contingent upon. Which means,
Disbanding is approved.
no, we have a new motion to approve this new
We
committee.
haven't voted on that yet.
That's what we're talking
Oh,
about
God.
voting on.
I just said it was that.
So we vote on to approve the committee, but then we just ask for the committee to meet and bring us back the details of their charge and their membership.
And we could say, since it's my motion, to bring that back for our final approval. So then we would be voting again to approve those adjustments.
Yeah. Good. I call the
Chris, does
question.
that-
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, okay. Don't call the question, because of course, calling the question,
Then you have to vote on.
you actually have to vote to call the question.
Yeah.
We don't want to do that. No.
We can't have two votes.
Way too much. Okay, so. Do you want this to be a roll call vote, or I can just look more carefully? Roll call vote, okay. So, Tara,
Yes.
Kim,
Yeah.
Ben,
Yes.
Sabrina.
Yeah.
Ellen.
Yeah.
Chris,
Yes.
Joy,
Yes.
Dee.
Yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
Kathy,
Yes.
Juan,
Yes.
Jess. Stephanie is not here. Unless you have her proxy.
Doesn't do it.
Okay, but we don't have her proxy. Okay, Ruth,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes,
Anna,
Yes.
Tricia.
Yes.
All right, okay.
Oh, my God.
All right, we're stunned. We're stunned.
I did.
All right, so well done. All right. 7.04 is our calendar. This could not be easier. We're on 7.04. I know.
I have a point of order, however. What happened to the last calendar discussion we were supposed to have about starting a week earlier?
No, that came back with, did talk about that.
No.
Yes, we did.
No,
It's at CPC.
we did not.
Okay, all right. Here's the plan.
Okay.
All right, here's the plan. Margarita, can you bring up the calendar, which is 7.04, please? 7.04. No, Maria's not there. So what you're gonna see is the calendar. No academic departments were in favor of having.
You didn't even ask us. Here, we were sent back.
No, we were sent back, and then you were supposed to send info.
We never had a
We
discussion.
never had the
It never came back.
discussion.
Okay. Calm down.
It's the only thing my division cared about.
One time she got feedback. I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Time.
Too many meetings, totally my fault.
Oh, my God.
So 7.04.
Oh, God. Oh, help us.
Kim's getting a question about the calendar. Okay,
Oh,
no, I'm joking, your phone going on. Okay, so if you see there what they have done, this is the proposal for 24-25. Basically, this year's schedule stays, right? So nothing got moved earlier. The reason it's also here is Tricia suggested, if you look under August 2024, adding the day that summer session actually ends.
Yeah, what a good idea.
Which is a great idea, right? Instead of what we usually do, or what I do, which is just count. You could actually put it on the calendar. Shouldn't be trusted. I know,
It's always,
clearly
always
doesn't
should be.
always work well. So this is the calendar, the proposed calendar.
Okay, so they're skipping that 1 week deal.
Yeah, they're skipping that 1 week deal. And so
Okay.
you can see
All
that
right.
finals are on the 9th to the 14th of December.
No,
Elizabeth.
no. We're talking about August.
Yes,
That's where they wanted to change and have it be just 1 week between the end of summer and the
Right.
beginning of fall.
right.
But you just said December.
I did, because that would have affected when finals are.
Right.
So that's why I commented on finals.
That's fine.
Elizabeth.
Can't come back. Yeah, I have a couple of questions just about the calendar, if I may, or may not.
Oh, please.
Okay. My first question is, who do people go to give input on the calendar? Who can I reach out to?
Well, the person who's technically in charge of it is Maria. She is in charge of the calendar.
Okay,
But,
okay.
Hold on.
Other question?
No, keep going.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Can we have some type of way of getting feedback after this first summer session? And the business is over?
This
Like
was
a
def-
document
this
you can
has been-
report or
yeah.
something?
Yeah, we will make sure that happens.
Okay.
Yeah, some sort of feedback. That's a great idea.
Tricia.
Yeah, and I think I put it in the report, but at CPC, that question came up as well. Maria mentioned that they were not say piloting it, but trying it out. And that even though the charge wasn't to gather feedback, that they would be open to doing that. So we can go review the notes, but I know that there were concerns about how it's affecting high school students, how the drop deadline, non-credit had some questions. So I know and I can't remember the exact mechanism that she mentioned. So, but that was something that she acknowledged that we're trying it out. We're going to gather feedback somehow.
Perfect. Jess.
I have a question about the last day to withdrawal from the class, because was that week 9 or 60% of the semester or some number of that sort, because on March 25, it has it during spring break,
Yep.
which is really,
It was
There was-
during spring break this year too.
so is that an issue?
Well,
Like that we missed? or-
no, that came back and forth and went back and forth,
Okay.
and student affairs seems to think this is ultimately better for the students, because it gives them more time than if otherwise, I think it would be backed up.
Oh, if you don't count that as a week, then you get an extra week, like April 4th would be 60% of the week.
But it counts as a week in the semester.
Because technically something.
It counts as a week.
Dead week, yeah,
I'm sorry,
because technically spring break is a dead
As a
week.
week.
are you agreeing or just?
No, I'm agreeing.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool, yeah, then I agree. Yes, I'll say it.
There- there
I don't know, I just saw it, I didn't see it before, if you look at it before, you'll find, but, it seems like it should be April 4th. In my.
Paloma was
Mhm.
Yeah.
for that, she was for
I had
that,
another reason why.
but she had a reason.
I'm sorry.
We're trying to remember what Paloma's reason was for.
It either has
there's
to go
some other-
earlier or later, I think, that I don't think we have a choice from the state. It either has to go earlier, we can make it earlier, but we can't make it later.
Right, so that's what I remember. This is the last possible time you can.
Right.
So the question is, you get them more time, but it is during break. So it puts more pressure on faculty and counselors to remind people, hey, I'm gonna get your let's do it now. But they said it still saves time, and it helps students in the long run to get that extra. Some do just figure it out.
forget.
Well,
It's not extra time.
Yeah,
It's not extra, it's less time. The 9th week would be April 4th.
which is a week after, the week you come back from spring break.
But it's it's the percentage, it's not the week.
Yeah, so if you wanna count that as a week, then we're over 100%. Like this.
If you want, if you guys
know what
want,
I mean, like the weeks and that we're in are 16 or whatever, right? If you count that as 17, and we're over 100%. So,
I think, can we
I don't
suggest maybe what needs to come in?
yeah, exactly, I was just gonna say, we will have Paloma come.
I remember her saying
And
there's some
explain
other
this.
external deadline that we have to take into consideration.
So we'll bring her to that and we'll say, and then can you guys please take this to your divisions? Complete with the new August 10th end date and any feedback. If you can try and send me some of that before our meeting, and that way I can get the relevant person here
Do you want feedback on what though?
on the calendar, because
It's just all you did was put the last day of instruction in there, and we already had a discussion of whether we wanted 1 or 2 weeks before school started, and you said the faculty, even though we didn't talk about it, agreed that we wanted 2 weeks, so what are we actually bringing back?
you're the one, you
Yeah,
are the one that just said you wanted us to vote on that.
well, I thought you were gonna ask for input, but if if it's already been
That
done.
that was just totally my fault.
Oh,
So
well,
what I'm saying is, if you guys,
if everybody's okay with that, I don't care. My department didn't want to go to 1 week, so.
yeah, I think that's what
Yeah.
happened. It's like, we're all like, no, we can't have final.
yeah, everyone,
Just
everyone.
because we never had that discussion is what I thought.
It died.
But it can die without interest, I don't care.
So, okay, so what is your will? We have 6 minutes.
I think it makes sense to,
Oh,
go ahead.
I'm just, I'm just wondering if I wasn't here last time, we talked about it in ESD and we had a lot of strong opinions. Was that already shared?
About
Or
that
was-
Ron?
No, that was good. It's being discussed.
Okay.
We didn't have the opportunity to share that. But from what I remember, ESD was also mostly supportive of keeping the current pattern. Yeah,
2 weeks. right?
yeah, so it seems like that's pretty much
We
the
have all of our
consensus.
reasons.
Yeah,
Right, yeah, we did.
The
too.
scale of horror was great in
Yeah.
many departments.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Final won't happen.
And I would say that, since ESB schedules and concerns are different, if our division had disagreed with with many instructional divisions, then I think I would be insisting that we have that conversation that we were supposed to have, but since that's not the case, and it seems like all the divisions are pretty much, there's consensus, then do we have to officially vote on it?
I think we have to officially vote on the August date
Or
being
approve
added
the
to,
calendar.
to approve the
Yeah,
calendar,
just
any
to approve
calendar.
the calendar.
Yeah, as we do with any calendar.
Right.
I just wanted to add a piece of information to Elizabeth's question. And I just want to share that there is an MOU in place about DLU loads over the summer. And this can between the FA and the district, and this includes in section 5, which reads, in fall 2023, the parties will meet to review relevant data from the summer 2023, including but not limited to total faculty loads and overlapping schedules. So there is already kind of, we have built into this MOU a requirement to review summer 2023, and I think we should definitely take a look how it went after this week.
Thank you for that. Okay, so
I'll make a motion to approve the calendar.
thank
Will that
you,
make you
Kathy.
happy? Does it make you happy?
Does make me
Okay,
happy.
good. I'm so glad.
I'll second that motion.
Thank you, Ella. That also makes me happy. All right, so now we have a chance to vote again. Look at us today. Right, this one, let's just raise our hands. If you're if you want to vote to approve the calendar,
No discussion?
there's discussion. Thank you.
I'm
Yes,
confused because
sorry.
I don't, why, if somebody's gonna come talk about it later, then why?
Then
are we waiting?
I would not have her come back, and what I would just do is go to her and get the statement and send that out to you guys.
Oh, so it's like. If we vote on it now, though, then we can finalize and there's no willingness to change it. Or,
Let's change it.
I don't know, I just feel silly voting on like finalizing something when we see a potential error in it.
Well, this was, yeah, as
It could be, but that's why we want. somebody to-
Almost super
She
detailed.
mentioned it, I just can't remember what the
Okay,
reason
so I
was.
shouldn't care about it.
Well, I think,
No, we should know what it is.
I think it's a really good point. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, don't just accept it, but she had a really good reason that none of us can remember.
And I think it's something external, like financial aid or something.
Yeah.
Deadline,
Okay,
but it'd be good to know what that is.
She's super student centered, and so this is the best in her mind.
So it wasn't a mistake.
yeah, no, I
mistake.
appreciate that, for sure. Okay.
And I think this is like the third time CPC have talked about that. Jill?
And then any feedback we get from summer, this new 10-week session could be incorporated. The
In
change.
future calendars.
Into future calendars.
To clarify, when we had our voting in ESD, we had draft 1 and draft 2, so this is draft 1. This is right.
This is the one that we preferred. I can't,
Okay.
I have trouble remembering
Okay.
because I think it was draft 2 that had the earlier start
Yes.
date, which I
Yeah.
found confusing.
Okay,
So yeah, so this is the one that,
so we're not voting the draft 1 or draft 2.
No, no,
It's
no.
Voting is that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so. Jess, how do you feel about voting?
We can vote on it. I don't have to say yes.
You absolutely don't. You can say hell no. Okay, right, so we have a motion. We have a second, we had discussion. Let's vote. All in favor of approving this calendar? Right, so we have two nays, or all opposed? One opposed, abstentions? Okay, so one abstention, two abstentions, I'm sorry.
You changed.
Two abstentions, one nay.
And you should identify both.
Right,
So the abstention.
so the abstention is
One.
it's Juan and Chris, and then the nay is Jeff. Right,
These minutes are gonna go like.
this is Margarita, you're sick and you're doing this, and it's a hell of a meeting, so that's why she's not here. Yeah, so she's sick and working from home. Yeah, so we're so sorry.
I can't.
I'm sorry to do that. Okay, it is 5 p.m. We're adjourned. Well done, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I have it in writing why it's that week.
Oh, good, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the reason why it has to be.
Definitely that they got.
I think it's like a financial